In the heart of Pennsylvania, where the morning mist rises from ancient farmland, there exists a community that has rejected almost everything the modern world considers essential. They have no smartphones, no internet, no credit cards, no mortgages, no stock portfolios. And yet, they are quietly becoming some of the wealthiest people in America. The average American carries over $100,000 in debt. The average Amish family carries almost none. While mainstream businesses fail at a rate of 50% within their first 5 years, Amish businesses succeed at a rate of 95%. Let that sink in for a moment. 95%. Today, we're going to uncover something extraordinary, a financial philosophy so powerful, so ancient, and so counterintuitive that it has quietly built generational wealth for over 300 years. This is not about going back in time. This is not about rejecting progress. This is about understanding what we lost in our rush to gain everything. By the end of this video, you will understand the 7 principles that have made the Amish quietly wealthy, and why these secrets might just change the way you think about money forever. Stay with me. This journey is worth every moment. To understand Amish wealth, we must first understand Amish pain. Our story begins not in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, but in the shadow of the Swiss Alps, more than 500 years ago. The year was 1525. Europe was burning. The Protestant Reformation had shattered the religious unity of the continent, and everywhere, men and women were asking dangerous questions about faith, authority, and what it truly meant to follow the teachings of Christ. In the city of Zurich, a small group of believers began meeting in secret. They called themselves Anabaptists, meaning rebaptizers, because they believed that baptism should be a conscious choice made by adults, not something performed on infants. This seems like a small theological difference today, but in the 16th century, it was a death sentence. Both Catholics and Protestants united in their hatred of these peaceful radicals. The Anabaptists were hunted, imprisoned, drowned in the very rivers where they had baptized their converts, burned at the stake while singing hymns. Thousands died, not for money, not for land, not for power, but simply for the right to live according to their conscience. The survivors fled. Generation after generation, they moved from country to country, never truly welcome, never truly safe. Switzerland, Germany, France, the Netherlands. And then a man named Jakob Amann changed everything. In 1693, Jakob Amann, a Swiss Mennonite elder, called for a stricter interpretation of their faith. He believed his community had grown too comfortable, too worldly, too eager to blend in with the society that surrounded them. He demanded separation, simplicity, a return to the pure and humble ways of the early church. His followers became known as the Amish. When William Penn founded his colony in the New World, promising religious freedom to all, the Amish saw their chance. Beginning in the early 1700s, they crossed the Atlantic in wooden ships, carrying almost nothing but their faith, their families, and centuries of hard-earned wisdom. They arrived in Pennsylvania, and they never left. Today, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, remains the heart of Amish America, but the community has spread far beyond these original settlements into Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, and dozens of other states. There are now over 370,000 Amish people in North America, and their population doubles every 20 years. While the rest of America worries about declining birth rates and aging populations, the Amish are quietly, steadily growing. But growth alone does not explain their prosperity.
To understand Amish wealth, we must understand what they carried with them across the ocean. Not gold, not investments, but something far more valuable. A memory. The memory of what happens when you depend on the world, when you trust the systems and institutions of outsiders, when you build your house on sand instead of rock. Their ancestors had trusted governments. Those governments had executed them. Their ancestors had trusted banks. Those banks had seized their property. Their ancestors had trusted their neighbors. Those neighbors had reported them to the authorities. And so the Amish made a decision that would shape their economic destiny for centuries to come. They decided to depend only on God and on each other. They would build their own economy, their own support systems. their own way of life, completely separate from the world that had tried to destroy them. This was not just religious practice. This was economic survival strategy, refined by 300 years of persecution. And it is the foundation of everything we are about to explore. The 20th century was not kind to American farmers. The Great Depression of the 1930s devastated rural communities across the nation. Banks failed, farms were foreclosed. Families who had worked the same land for generations were suddenly homeless, piling their belongings into trucks and heading west, looking for work that didn't exist. The government stepped in with programs and subsidies. Social Security was created. Farm loans were offered. The New Deal promised to save American agriculture. And for many, it did. But for the Amish, this was a turning point of a different kind. In 1935, when Social Security was established, the Amish faced a dilemma. The government was now demanding that they pay into a system that would care for them in their old age. But the Amish didn't need the government to care for their elderly. They already did that themselves. They always had.
To accept Social Security would mean depending on the outside world, trusting the same institutions that had persecuted their ancestors. And worse, it would mean their children would no longer feel the sacred obligation to care for their aging parents. After decades of negotiation, the Amish won an exemption from Social Security in 1965. They would neither pay into the system nor receive benefits from it. This decision might seem like a disadvantage. After all, they were giving up a government safety net. But in reality, it was their greatest economic advantage, because it forced them to build something better. While the rest of America was becoming increasingly dependent on government programs, corporate pensions, and Wall Street investments, the Amish were strengthening their own internal economy. They created Amish Aid, a community fund where members contribute money to help each other in times of need. Medical bills, farm accidents, natural disasters, all covered by the community, not by insurance companies or government agencies. When a young Amish couple wants to start a farm, they don't go to a bank for a mortgage. The community helps them. When an Amish person gets sick, they don't file insurance claims. The community pays the hospital bills directly, often negotiating significant discounts for cash payment. No interest, no debt, no middlemen taking their cut. Just neighbors helping neighbors. But perhaps the greatest turning point in Amish economic history came in the 1970s and 1980s, when farmland became too expensive for the growing population to sustain their traditional way of life. For the first time, the Amish faced an existential choice. They could scatter, leave their communities, seek cheaper land elsewhere, or they could adapt. They chose to adapt. The Amish began transitioning from pure agriculture to small business ownership, furniture making, construction, buggy manufacturing, quilt shops, bakeries, farmers markets.
And here is where something remarkable happened. While American businesses were failing at record rates, Amish businesses were thriving. Study after study has confirmed this phenomenon. Research by Elizabethtown College found that Amish businesses have a success rate of approximately 95%, compared to the 50% failure rate for conventional American businesses within their first 5 years. 95%. How is this possible? The answer lies not in some secret business technique or advanced financial strategy. The answer lies in their philosophy of money itself. You see, the Amish don't think about money the way we do. For most Americans, money is the goal, the endpoint, the measure of success. For the Amish, money is simply a tool, a means to support their family, their community, and their faith, nothing more. This single shift in perspective changes everything. Now we arrive at the heart of our story, the principles that have quietly built Amish wealth for generations. These are not complicated strategies. They require no financial advisor, no investment app, no advanced degree. They require only discipline and a willingness to think differently about money. Let us begin. Principle 1. Live below your means, far below your means. The average American household spends almost everything it earns, often more, thanks to credit cards and loans. The Amish household? They spend a fraction of their income. Consider what the Amish don't pay for. No car payments, no car insurance, no gasoline. A horse and buggy costs a few $1,000s and eats grass that grows on their own land. No electricity bills. Their homes are powered by propane, natural gas, or simple battery systems. No cable television, no internet subscriptions, no smartphone bills, no streaming services.
No expensive fashion. Their clothing is handmade and uniform. No keeping up with trends. No closets full of unworn purchases.
Now let's do the math. The average American family spends approximately $1,500 per month on car-related expenses. 0 for the Amish. The average American spends $200 per month on entertainment subscriptions. 0 for the Amish. Electricity, around $150 per month. Minimal for the Amish. Fashion and clothing, $150 per month. Almost nothing for the Amish. That's nearly $2,000 per month in expenses that simply don't exist in Amish Lex. $24,000 per year. Over a 40-year working life, that's nearly $1 million before we even consider investment returns. But living below your means is only the beginning. Principle 2, eliminate debt entirely. The Amish have a saying, if you can't pay cash, you can't afford it. In mainstream America, debt is considered normal, necessary even. Mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards. We accept these burdens as the price of participation in modern life. The average American carries over $100,000 in debt and pays thousands of dollars each year in interest alone, money that goes to banks, not to their own families. The Amish, they pay cash for almost everything. When an Amish family buys a farm, they often pay cash. If they must finance, they borrow from family or community members at little or no interest. Think about what this means. An American family that buys a $300,000 home with a 30-year mortgage at 7% interest will pay over $418,000 in interest alone over the life of the loan. That's more than the house itself cost. An Amish family that saves for 10 years and pays cash, they pay exactly $300,000, and they own their home outright from day one.
That $418,000 difference, it stays in the Amish family. It gets passed down to the next generation. It compounds over centuries. This is how quiet wealth is built, not through high-risk investments or lucky breaks, but through the patient elimination of wealth destroyers like interest payments. Principle 3, community as insurance. When an Amish person faces a catastrophe, a barn fire, a major illness, a farming accident, they don't file insurance claims. They don't go bankrupt. They don't beg. They simply tell their community. Within days, sometimes hours, the community responds. Money is collected. Labor is donated. The problem is solved. This is not charity. This is mutual obligation. Every Amish person knows that someday they might be the one who needs help, and when that day comes, the community will be there. Consider the economics of this system. An American family might pay $15,000 per year for health insurance, $2,000 for homeowners insurance, $1,500 for car insurance. That's $18,500 per year just to feel protected against disasters that may never happen. Over a lifetime, that's nearly $750,000 paid to insurance companies. The Amish contribute to their community fund a fraction of these costs and receive something no insurance company can provide, the guarantee that their neighbors will physically show up to help. But there's something even more important here, something that goes beyond money. When you know your community will catch you if you fall, you are free to take risks, to start businesses, to try new things. The fear of failure that paralyzes so many Americans simply doesn't exist in the Amish world, because failure is temporary, community is permanent. Principle 4, skills over credentials. The Amish do not go to college. Most complete their formal education at 8th grade.
In mainstream America, this would seem like a devastating disadvantage. We are told that education is the path to success, that degrees equal dollars. But the Amish have discovered something that corporate America has forgotten. Skills, real, practical, marketable skills, are worth more than credentials. By the time an American young person graduates from college, often with $50,000 or more in student debt, the average Amish young person has already completed a decade-long apprenticeship. They can build furniture, construct homes, farm land, repair machinery, cook, sew, preserve food, manage a household. And here's the mathematical reality that few people discuss. A college graduate with $50,000 in debt, starting work at 22, paying off loans for 10 years, has a net worth at age 32 that is often still negative. An Amish young person who started working at 14, saved half their income, and opened a business at 22, has a net worth at 32 that is often positive by $100,000 or more. A $150,000 head start before life even really begins. Principle 5, multi-generational thinking. When an American makes a financial decision, they typically think about the next few years, maybe the next decade, rarely longer.
When an Amish person makes a financial decision, they think about the next 3 generations. This single shift in time horizon changes everything. An American might buy a cheap piece of furniture that lasts 5 years. It's a good deal, low price, meets the immediate need. An Amish craftsman builds furniture that lasts 200 years. It costs more upfront, but divided over its lifespan, it's infinitely cheaper. This principle applies to everything. Land is not an investment to be flipped for profit. It is an inheritance to be stewarded and passed down.
Businesses are not built to be sold. They are built to employ children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Relationships are not networking opportunities. They are lifelong bonds that create the social capital upon which everything else depends. When you think in centuries instead of quarters, wealth accumulates naturally, inevitably, without the stress and anxiety that plague modern investors. Principle 6. Productive assets over consumer goods. The modern economy is built on consumption. Buy things, use things, throw things away. Buy more things. The Amish economy is built on production. Create things, maintain things, pass them down. Create more things. An American might spend $50,000 on a car that depreciates to worthlessness over 10 years. An Amish family might spend $50,000 on farmland that appreciates in value while producing food, generating income, and remaining in the family forever. One purchase destroys wealth, the other creates it. This is why Amish communities are asset-rich in ways that don't appear in typical statistics. They own land, they own equipment, they own businesses, they own skills. What they don't own are liabilities disguised as assets, depreciating cars, unnecessary gadgets, closets full of unused purchases. Principle 7. Work as worship. Finally, we arrive at the principle that underlies all the others. The Amish do not view work as a necessary evil. They do not dream of retirement, of escaping to beaches and golf courses. For the Amish, work is a form of prayer, a way of honoring God, a source of meaning and purpose that transcends any paycheck. When you love your work, you don't need expensive vacations to escape from it. When your work is meaningful, you don't need to fill a spiritual void with consumer purchases. When your work serves your family and community, you don't experience the loneliness and alienation that drives so much modern spending.
The Amish don't work for money. They work for meaning. And paradoxically, this approach to work generates more wealth than any purely profit-driven strategy ever could. Because when you're not trying to escape your life, you don't need to spend money on escape. And that money stays in your family, growing quietly, generation after generation. So what does all of this add up to? Let's look at the numbers. The Amish community in Lancaster County alone generates an estimated economic output of over $1 billion annually. Furniture manufacturing, construction, farming, tourism, all powered by people who reject most modern technology. But raw economic output doesn't tell the full story. Consider a typical Amish family over 3 generations. First generation, a young couple starts with almost nothing. They work for others, save 70% of their income, and after 10 years, pay cash for a small farm. Second generation, their children grow up working the farm. They learn the business inside and out. When the parents age, the children take over seamlessly. There are no estate taxes on small family farms, no need to sell to pay inheritance costs. The wealth transfers intact. Third generation, by now the family owns multiple properties, operates several businesses, and has accumulated capital that would take an average American family 5 generations to build, if they could build it at all. But here is what truly sets the Amish apart. Despite this wealth, they don't change. They don't upgrade to luxury cars. They still drive buggies. They don't build mansions. They still live in simple houses. They don't chase status symbols. They still dress in plain clothes. This is perhaps the greatest secret of all. The Amish have discovered something that eludes most wealthy people. Enough. They know what they need, and they stop there.
More money doesn't mean more spending. It means more security, more generosity, more resources for the community, more inheritance for the children. And so, in the quiet corners of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, a parallel economy thrives. An economy built on trust instead of contracts, on community instead of competition, on patience instead of profit maximization. An economy that the rest of America doesn't even notice. Now, let me be clear about something important. This video is not suggesting that you should become Amish. Their way of life is built on centuries of shared faith, culture, and community. It cannot simply be copied. But their principles, those are universal. Living below your means, eliminating debt, building community, valuing skills over credentials, thinking in generations, choosing productive assets over consumer goods, finding meaning in work. These principles work for anyone, in any culture, in any economy, in any era. The Amish have not rejected modernity out of ignorance. Many have access to the outside world. Many could leave if they chose. They stay because they have found something that most modern people desperately seek and rarely find: peace. Peace that comes not from having everything, but from needing less. Peace that comes not from individual achievement, but from communal belonging. Peace that comes not from escaping work, but finding work worth doing. In a world that grows louder, faster, and more chaotic every day, the Amish remind us that another way is possible. A quieter way, a slower way, a richer way, in every sense of the word. So, what can we take from this journey into the world of the Amish? Let me offer you 7 key lessons, one for each principle we explored today. Lesson 1. The gap between your income and your spending is the foundation of all wealth. Widen that gap ruthlessly.
Lesson 2. Debt is wealth destruction in slow motion. Every dollar of interest paid is a dollar stolen from your future. Lesson 3. Community is the ultimate insurance policy. Invest in relationships, not just portfolios. Lesson 4. Skills that produce value will always be worth more than credentials that only signal status. Lesson 5. Think in generations, not quarters. The decisions you make today will echo through your family for centuries. Lesson 6. Own things that create value. Avoid things that only consume it. Lesson 7. Find work that feels like purpose. When you don't need to escape your life, you won't need to spend money on escape. These principles are not secrets, really. They are simply truths we have forgotten in our rush towards something we were told was progress. The Amish remembered, and in their remembering, they found wealth that most people never achieve. Not just financial wealth, but wealth of time, wealth of relationships, wealth of meaning. We live in an age of endless noise, endless distraction, endless consumption. But somewhere, beyond the highways and the billboards and the glowing screens, there are people who have found a different way. They don't need to tell us how to live. They simply show us. And perhaps, if we're quiet enough, we can learn. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If this story resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to The Quiet Rich, where we explore how extraordinary wealth is built quietly, patiently, and wisely. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? And I'm curious, do you remember a time when life was simpler, when communities looked out for each other the way the Amish still do? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Until next time, may you find the quiet wealth that lasts.